Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mina and today we are starting another reading vlog. I know I said that I probably would not be filming any reading vlogs this month because it is Ramadan, and it still is, but I decided to pick up a book that I'm really excited about, and I kind of do want to vlog my experience reading it just because I think it could potentially be like a 4 or 5 star read, maybe. Just like as of now, from what I've read so far and from like the premise of the book and the genre. So yes, that is why I am vlogging. This vlog is going to follow my experience reading the book Eden by Tim Leban or Tim Leban. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but if you watched my last reading vlog, you'll know that I just picked this one up recently, and this is a book that is like a mix of horror and sci-fi. It is technically considered an environmental horror, which is actually one of my favorite subgenres of horror. And I didn't actually know this until recently. I kind of realized that that's a subgenre of horror that I just like really enjoy reading and watching. So I'm so excited about this. The premise of this book is very similar to one of my all-time favorite novels, which is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. If you didn't watch my rereading vlog of this book last year, oh my god, I can't believe it's been a year. I reread it last year around my birthday in May, and I had a really great experience rereading it. It's definitely up there as one of my all-time favorites, and this one sounds very, very similar to it, and so far it feels quite similar as well. It is basically about a near future version of Earth, where climate change has basically destroyed a lot of parts of the Earth, and in order to compensate for all of the damage that humans have done to the environment, people decide to give back certain parts of Earth to nature. So what this means is that they are closing off certain areas of Earth from humanity and just letting nature like take its course and just run wild, and humans are not allowed to enter into those zones, and they are restricted. There's no access into them, and they're just these like wild, overgrown, completely overtaken by nature regions on Earth. And I think there's like 12 different zones that have been established. And we are following a group of explorers who are going to the most famous and the first zone. It's called the Virgin Zones. So they're going to the first Virgin Zone that was ever created, and they are trying to be the first group of explorers to survive and get through this Virgin Zone. And also we learn that one of the explorers is kind of going in as sort of a rescue mission to follow her mother, who previously entered that same Virgin Zone about 2 months prior. So super, super interesting. I'm about 80 pages into this book, and I just started it yesterday. I really do love reading anything that's like nature related and like environment related during this time of year, just because the weather is getting warmer. We are now in spring and transitioning into summer, and I love just nature related books. There's just something about like the weather and like the time of year that just makes me crave books that have plots related to nature and the environment, specifically horror. Find it so fascinating and so creepy. And as I said before, Annihilation is one of my favorite books of all time, and this is a very similar premise. People going to explore an overgrown, mysterious natural region. And also what even makes it more similar is the fact that they are going in after another group trying to rescue or learn more information about her mother who entered in before her. So I am really enjoying this. We just have reached the Eden Zone, like the explorers have just gotten there, and the descriptions in this book are really, really visual, very like cinematic almost, which I really enjoy. I love this author's writing style. There is some vocabulary that like goes over my head, even though I am an English major, like I should be knowing more vocabulary than I do, but he does use quite a bit of I wouldn't say difficult vocabulary, but not like common vocabulary, but his descriptions are great. The characters so far are interesting. I like the dynamic between the different members of the group, but so far we haven't gotten to any real like action sequences yet. There is a little bit of a different perspective between the group of explorers that we are following, and then we also have gotten a little bit of the main character's mother, who has gone into the version zone previously. So that part that I read was a little bit creepy. There was like some really interesting and eerie imagery. I'm not going to go into specific detail about like what exactly was described, because again, I'm going to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but there was a description of someone who was overtaken by nature, and it was just such a like visceral description and gruesome description, and it reminded me a lot of the way that Jeff Vandermeer describes certain things in the Southern Reach trilogy. So really liking that. I can't wait to continue this. I really didn't want to put the book down yesterday, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop at 80 pages because I haven't even started my vlog yet, and I feel like I should not read the whole book before I even begin the vlog. So I put the book down. I'm going to continue reading today. Don't really have any plans. Finished work. It's now the afternoon, almost like 1 p.m. And I think later tonight we might go eat at my in-laws' house. So I'll probably just be reading most of the day and taking you guys along with me as I read. So I will check in with you a little bit later with some more reading thoughts. But right now, really enjoying it. Hello you guys, it's a little bit later. It's now after 3. I'm just running some errands with my husband. This isn't really a reading update because I have not done any reading since I spoke to you last. This is literally just a life update. Today is just not the day. Today is not the day. This week is not the week. I mean, I just feel like I went into this week with like very high expectations. Like I expected to get things done and like do certain things this week, and like nothing is going to plan, which is just really irritating. So I'm having like a really bad day and like everything is annoying me. You know when you're in one of those moods where like everything just pisses you off? That's like what I'm going through right now. So hopefully I will get some reading done later. It's like pouring rain right now. It just like started pouring rain the moment we decided to leave the house. So I just wanted to come on here and say like I'm not feeling it today, not feeling it this week, but it is what it is. And I'm kind of like upset that I planned to like start this vlog this week and like the week is just crap so far. So hopefully things will get better after today is over, but yeah, if I seem like I'm in a different mood, it's because I'm just not having a good week. All right, I will see you guys later. Okay, I feel a lot better than the last clip. About to eat myself my sandwich, have some seltzer water, and watch some BookTube. All right, so I'm pausing my BookTube session to get some own reading done for myself. Honestly, watching people do reading vlogs really motivates me to actually want to pick up my book and read. Not that I didn't want to, but I was planning on finishing this video and then doing some reading, but I kind of actually just feel like picking up my book and continuing. So I think I'll read a little bit, go back to the video, kind of like go back and forth and see how it goes. Hello friends, it is a little bit later. It's now like 6 p.m. As you saw from the last clip, I'm doing a lot better than I was when we were in the car and I was just like miserable about everything. But I did get a little bit of reading done. I'm now on page 115 of Eden, and I still really am enjoying this book. I feel like one of my favorite things about environmental or eco horror is just the descriptions of nature, and I feel like, of course, in a horror novel everything is sort of eerie and unsettling and ominous, and even the most like natural of things can feel very like off-putting. And it reminds me a lot of that. This is gonna get like super nerdy in a second. It reminds me a lot of that like Freudian concept of the uncanny, which if you're not familiar with it, it's basically like this feeling that people get when something is very familiar to them, but at the same time there is something that is just a little bit off, and it makes it super unsettling. Like if you have a dream, for example, and you're dreaming of like a very familiar place, like your own bedroom or your own home or somewhere where you've been many times, but maybe just like one little thing is like misplaced, or someone's there who like shouldn't be there, it makes you feel like it's a nightmare because it's familiar, but it's just slightly like unhinged, if that makes sense. So I feel like a lot of times with the eco horror, environmental horror genre, the way that nature is described is very much like that, where things are natural but they're not what it seems to be. And something that I really like about this, it was a section that I just read, they were talking about how humanity is like almost dying out at this point, and people are killing themselves, and pretty soon there won't be any humanity left. And so what they're seeing in this Eden zone, in this virgin zone that has completely been overtaken by nature, is more so like the future that's like untouched by humanity once humanity has already been gone, versus like the past before humans have touched it, if that makes sense. I know it's like a really confusing concept, and I'm probably not explaining it well because I just took like a mini nap and I'm like just waking up from that. But reading that was such an interesting and like creepy concept to me, and I was like, wow, like I felt that while I was reading it. But yeah, so I am really enjoying it. I do wish that it was a little bit scarier at this point. We are 115 pages in, and this book is like 350 pages. So we're not quite halfway, but I feel like at this point there should be more. I mean, there's a lot of definitely unsettling feelings, but nothing like major has happened in terms of the plot. Just a lot of setup, just a lot of like world building, I guess, for this Eden region, which is fine, but I'm kind of like eagerly waiting for those like really scary moments. And I guess again, comparing this to Annihilation, because that is like the book that I'm going to be comparing this to. Annihilation was so short. It is so short. It's like not even 200 pages. And so I feel like with Annihilation, you really get thrown into the action a lot faster, and you experience a lot of the scary horror moments like one after another because of the pacing of the book. Like it's just much shorter. So we shall see how it goes. There's one thing that I'm not like crazy about when it comes to the plot. So I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning, but this group of explorers are not like scientific researchers, and that's something that I wish was part of this book. There's one scientist among their group, but the rest of them are more like adventurers, and they're trying to explore the region because they want, I wouldn't necessarily say fame. They're curious about Eden, but it's more so like a personal like accomplishment to them to be able to survive through this area. And for me, like I don't really care about personal competitions and like ambitions and things like that. That sounds like really ridiculous. Like I have no ambition, clearly, is what I'm trying to say. But I just can't really connect with that idea of like wanting to be the first person to explore this place because nobody else has ever done it before. I'm more so connected to the idea of people being curious by this mysterious place and wanting to know more about it and understand it, and like, you know, understand its risks and dangers for like science purposes. I'm not even a science person, but I just feel like that makes more sense to me, and like I think that that's more interesting than like people just wanting to like conquer Eden and like race through it and like have the fastest time of like getting through this zone than any other like explorer group ever will. That's kind of like what they're trying to do. And I feel like for me, like, I'm not a huge like competition contest type of person. I don't really care for those things in books and in films. So that's like one thing I'm a little bit like meh about. They do discuss it a couple of times. It's not like a huge thing. It's not like a serious competition where like groups are like competing against each other in the moment, but it's definitely referenced, and it kind of takes away a little bit from my enjoyment of the plot. But that's just a personal thing. I know like nobody else would probably be bothered by that, but I don't know, it probably doesn't make sense, but that's just how I'm feeling about that. The other thing, this is a long clip, but I do want to address this because it kind of caught me off guard and kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, and I'm hoping that it's not explored further, and if it is explored further, it's explored in the appropriate and right way. So one of the characters, I just found out, it was mentioned that he was previously an Israeli soldier. I'm Palestinian, so obviously you can imagine like my distaste for reading that and my anger for reading that. They didn't go into detail about like his experience there, and I'm hoping that they don't. And one thing that I'm hopeful about is the fact that he maybe disagreed with his time there and his position in that army, and has chosen to leave because he realized that it was wrong and immoral and inhumane to be a part of that. And they mentioned in that like one line where it was mentioned he was part of that army or that military, that he left because of like his traumatic experiences being there or being part of it. So I'm really hoping that either they don't bring it up again, I will be like okay with just that like one drop, I won't really care too much, or I'd be more pleased if they explored it and they basically like the author explored it and criticized being a part of that organization, because it would just really bother me if like they do explore it and they like praise the Israeli military, because then I will definitely not recommend this book and probably will not even upload this vlog. So if you're seeing this vlog, well, we'll see what happens, but I just wanted to drop that in and kind of like bring that up because I couldn't ignore it. Like I saw it and I was just like, ugh, like gag. But yeah, I am enjoying it other than that random point. We'll see how it goes. I will keep you guys updated. I'm sorry that this clip is literally like 10 minutes. I really do apologize. I'll see you guys later. Hello, you guys. It is now the next day. It's Thursday, and I am racing against the clock because I have to run back home and catch a meeting in like 20 minutes. But I just quickly went out to get myself a cold brew because I was craving it. And if you're wondering why I am drinking during the day during Ramadan, good question. So for your knowledge, women are exempt from fasting during their periods. So in case anybody is like, why is she drinking during Ramadan? That is why. I just want to take a sip of this. I can't even sit here and enjoy it because I have to run home for this meeting. Honestly, this was a dumb idea. I had an hour to actually like pick it up, but I left my house a little bit later than anticipated. So good. Okay, gotta go home. Got to do this meeting, and then I will come back and update you guys on some of my reading thoughts. So I'll see you later. Hello, you guys. I'm back. It's a little bit later. Oh my god, I forgot my wedding ring. Whatever, it's not that serious. I always feel like naked when I don't have it, so I just realized that now. It's almost 4 p.m. I'm actually parked up outside my best friend's house because I am going to watch a show with her for a little bit. The show that we are planning on watching is on Amazon Prime. It's called Them, and it is a horror TV show, and it's supposed to be like within the same style and vein of like the Jordan Peele type of horror films like Get Out and Us, where it's horror but there's probably some like social and racial commentary embedded within the story. So I'm really excited. It looks really good, but it also looks like super scary, so we'll see how it goes. I also wanted to come on here and update you guys because something exciting happened on Instagram today, of all places. So last week, me and my two Bookstagram besties, Keely and Elena, decided to create this like book stack challenge where you basically find books within your collection that correspond or reflect Disney park attractions or like Disney park rides. We are all like huge Disney World lovers, so we decided to combine our love of books and Disney World and create this challenge. And this morning, Riley Sager, like the author Riley Sager, who wrote some of my favorite thrillers of all time and who is one of my all-time favorite thriller writers of like now, decided to do the challenge, and I was just so shocked that he even heard about our challenge. He loves Disney, so it makes sense, but literally less than 20 people have probably participated, so I'm shocked. The lighting is just ridiculous right now. So I was a little bit shocked and like so excited that he actually heard of it and participated, and he's just the best. Like, he has such a good presence on social media. Like, a lot of times if you have like a really successful author, they won't always interact with their fans and their like audience as much, but he responds, he likes photos, he's the best. So shout out to us for like getting Riley Sager to join our Bookstagram challenge, which is awesome. I also just wanted to quickly come on here and update you guys on my progress with Eden. I'm now at page 150. This lighting, okay, it's like there's a shadow on my head, but I guess that's okay because if I was in the sunlight, yeah, no, this is fine. So I'm on page 150 of Eden, and I am still really liking it. I think what I said yesterday still kind of holds true, which is that this is definitely, now it got so dark, which is that this is definitely a slow burn type of thriller. I don't feel like it's very action-packed. There is some suspense and there are some creepy moments so far, but at this point, nothing serious has happened to our main group of characters. So they're in Eden, they're still trying to explore and go through this region, and we're getting like little pieces of evidence, or we're finding pieces of evidence that humans have gone through Eden, and that there could be some trouble or some violence that ensued before our group got here. They're finding like bloody pieces of clothing and like bullet casings, and I don't know if this is considered a spoiler, so skip ahead if you, it's a minor spoiler. If you're interested in reading this, just skip ahead. But they did find a dead body of someone, so there are little instances of horror that has like previously happened, but nothing directly has happened to any of our cast of main characters. And I'm kind of like hoping something happens and that it like picks up a little bit more, because that's what I'm finding to be the biggest, I don't really want to say issue, but that's like my biggest critique at this point. We are still getting like snippets of our main character's mother and her experience going through Eden. We're not getting too much of her character, just maybe like 2 or 3 chapters in total so far. I don't know if her scenes are happening simultaneously to like our main cast of characters, or if hers are like from the past, because we do know that she entered Eden before them. So it's interesting to kind of think of how her timeline and her perspective scenes are in relation to what we're reading about with our major characters. But it's good. Like, I really like the atmosphere, I really like the vibe, I really like the parallels to Annihilation, and there's definitely some creepy imagery with how the environment and nature has kind of possessed and like overtaken the people who enter into Eden. Again, not our main cast of characters, but within like within the mom's perspective, that is what we're seeing. I hope I'm not being like too spoilery here, but we're definitely seeing some kind of gruesome and disturbing imagery about how nature's like fighting back against humanity, which is super interesting. So yeah, those are my thoughts so far. I am going to hopefully read some more later today and update you guys, but I'm gonna go head inside my friend's house. I'll just stay here for a couple of hours and then head back home before my husband has to break his fast tonight. So I will see you guys later. Hello you guys, it is now the next day. It is Friday afternoon, almost 3 p.m. now, and I am done with work for the week, which is amazing. I'm headed over to Staten Island in a little bit. As you guys know, Friday is like my day to have dinner with my family, so I usually go there. So that is what I'm gonna do. I didn't get too much reading done since I last updated you, to be honest. Yesterday was a bit insane and hectic and just like not a good reading day. I'm now on page 175 of Eden, so not too far since the last time, but I am just gonna update you guys a little bit and hopefully I will have some time to read this evening. So I am still liking it. I feel like that's how I always do my updates. I am still enjoying it, but it's true. I am really liking the vibe of this book, and I think eco horror could potentially be like my favorite subgenre of horror. At least like right now, that's what I'm feeling, and I really do want to find other books that are in this similar subgenre because I love that idea of like nature being the villain or the antagonist, and it could just go so many ways and it's just so creepy when it's done right. So I am liking it. I think, as I've been saying for the past couple of days, the pacing of this book is not my favorite because right now at this halfway point in the book, I don't want to say nothing's happened because that's not true, but nothing significant or huge has happened in terms of the plot. And I feel like for a horror novel or a thriller or anything with like dark undertones, something significant should have happened by now, like halfway through the novel. So I'm wondering like when are things going to actually become more intense? And I don't even mean like action-packed, I just mean like a major plot event happening. Like so far nothing like that has occurred. The only things that we're getting is just like little tidbits of like creepy moments, which I do appreciate, but I feel like for the length of this novel, it's not really working. I think if this was a 500, 600 page book, then 170 pages in, not having any major significant plot points is acceptable because you still have so much room and so much time to add those scenes in your novel. But halfway through the book, I feel like there should be more happening. One thing that I do like about this book is that it explores the natural side of the horror, but it also is exploring a little bit of the horror with humanity. And the way that this is discussed is through these little quotes and like news snippets that occur at the beginning of every chapter, where you're basically getting the point of view and the comments and perspective of like just a bunch of random people talking about this whole project to preserve nature, to create these virgin zones, and how the government all across the world is basically prohibiting humans from entering the zones. And so much so that they have actually developed their own law enforcement to protect these zones, known as Zeds. And within these quotes at the beginning of the chapter, we're getting people talking about how violent the Zeds are and how they take their job too seriously, and how they don't just prohibit you from entering into the virgin zones, but some of them kill you. And I think that's such an interesting concept that, like, yes, we're trying to preserve nature, but like they're doing it violently, and like the repercussions are deadly just for like sneaking into the zones. And I'm wondering if there's like a deeper social commentary about that. I want to continue reading and see if it connects to anything else. So I have like some ideas, but I don't want to say them just yet, like what connections I'm making to that. But I think that that's an interesting aspect about this book, that yes, the heart of this is about how nature is getting its revenge on humans and how humanity has destroyed nature, and in the end nature is going to overtake humans. But it's also how like humans are killing each other and like destroying each other and like making it easy for nature to just take over. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but that's what I'm feeling, the vibe of this book and like the lessons of this book. So I'm gonna continue reading. Hopefully I'll have some more thoughts for you later. I might get myself another Starbucks, trying to take advantage of this week off from fasting before I have to like go back and like I can't have any more Starbucks. So those are the plans. Might go to Barnes & Noble and meet my sister there, and then head over to my parents and eat dinner. So I will check in with you guys later, and we will discuss more of Eden later. Hello you guys, it's a little bit later now. It's 5 p.m. and I'm questioning why I got a cold brew at 5 p.m. because I know that this is going to affect my sleep, but it's the weekend, so I don't have to wake up early for work tomorrow. So we're just going to embrace that fact. Wow, that actually tastes a lot stronger this time. So this is the Barnes & Noble Starbucks, and I always notice that their drinks are not exactly the same as like the Starbucks. Not that it's bad, but there's like a slight difference. The other thing that I got was a book. I went in there not really like planning on getting anything, but I did see a paperback version of Star Wars from a certain point of view. And if you've been following along on my reading Star Wars canon books vlog series, you know that this is one of the books that I do want to read soon. I'm not crazy about the cover. I just don't like that they have like all of the different, are these the different writers? Oh, okay. So this book basically is A New Hope, but from the perspective of different characters in the Star Wars series and like how they experienced the plot of A New Hope from their perspective. So I believe then there's a bunch of other writers in this, and it's not just written by one person. I think every character and every perspective that we get is written by somebody else, so that's why there's like a bunch of different names on the cover. But I really liked the floppiness of this paperback, which is why I got it. It's just like such a good floppiness. I don't even like paperbacks, but I can appreciate a floppy paperback and like the sounds that it makes. So I picked that up and I got my cold brew. And now I'm headed over to my parents' house to eat dinner. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today's plans. Okay, I will see you guys later. Hello you guys, it is now the next day. It is Saturday afternoon and I am here to give you another reading update. I am now on page 250 of Eden, so I pretty much just have about 100 pages left of this book to go, and I'm hoping that I can finish it this weekend and then possibly pick up another book beginning of next week so that I can have like one more book to finish up in the month of April, since I haven't really gotten much reading done so far. So we have finally gotten to some intense moments within the plot, which is exciting. I don't want to go into spoilers, but I'm just going to say that some people from the group have been separated from the rest of the group, and there were pretty intense confrontations between the group and some animals that were in Eden. I think that's all I'm going to say in terms of like plot points. How I feel about these moments, I think like, yes, I've been waiting for them to happen, and I'm glad that we've finally gotten some instance where things have directly happened to our group as opposed to us just finding things and like pieces of evidence that humans have been there and dead bodies, and like finally something has happened to our actual group of characters, which was exciting. I do wish that things went in a little bit of a different direction in terms of the plot. I know that this book is not Annihilation, and I have to stop with my comparisons to that book. But that is literally one of my favorite books of all time. So I feel like that's just on my mind when I'm reading this book. So I think one thing that I prefer about the story of Annihilation is that there's a little bit more mystery involving the Area X region as opposed to Eden. And I think even though Eden has a lot of peculiarities within its land and its environment that make it mysterious, I feel like it's still very much more of a familiar land than Area X was. And I feel like there was a little bit more of a sinister intent behind Area X as opposed to Eden. So that's something that I preferred more in Annihilation. I feel like we're getting a lot of, like, there are animals in Eden that are just like regular animals, like wolves and coyotes and like jaguars and, you know, things that we have already seen in our like regular lives, as opposed to Annihilation. There's a little bit more of like an uncanniness within the creatures and the nature of Annihilation that makes it so creepy and different from like any other land. So that's one thing that I'm just like, I wish the author would go a little bit further in terms of like making this a weird, like odd location with things that are just not common in our regular like natural environments, if that makes any sense at all. But I am still liking it. Our group has now escaped from an animal confrontation, and they are seeking refuge in an abandoned building. This is like my favorite part of Eden. I love where they are kind of discussing the parts of Eden that were once habitable places, because these regions in this book were technically once habitable by humans, and the humans who lived there were just displaced and they had to settle elsewhere, and then these lands were turned into the virgin zones. I really do like the fact that this place was once inhabited by humans, and you can kind of see like their mark left and like their footprint, and there's like still these old abandoned buildings and dilapidated roads and things like that. I feel like that's the most interesting aspect about Eden, and that's what makes it a little bit darker than just like a natural area. It's the fact that people were actually displaced from their homes in order for this place to exist. So I think that that's an interesting perspective, and I really do like that aspect about it. I'm hoping like something creepy happens while they're here in this abandoned, I think it was a power plant that they are like waiting in. So that's where I'm at right now. I do want to get a good chunk more of this read today, and then also finish it up tomorrow, so we shall see. It's Saturday, I don't really have any plans. It's like beautiful weather outside. I want to just go out and like at least go to Target or something, so hopefully we will be able to do that. But I will see you guys later, and I will check in with you when I have some more reading thoughts. So it is now Sunday, and I am about to watch Annihilation, still reading. Let me zoom out. Oh no, I zoomed in. Still reading Eden, but hopefully I will finish today. Got myself a little chocolate peanut butter snack, and of course I have my seltzer water. So yeah, this is how I am spending my last day off before the work week begins.
Because she doesn't want you to see the scars in the forearms.
She's tried to kill herself.
Oh, I think the opposite, trying to feel alive.
Hello you guys, it is now Monday and I just finished reading Eden, so I am here to give you guys my final thoughts on the book. I'm back to fasting today, so the energy levels are a little bit lower than usual, but I will try my best to give you guys my thoughts. What is that sound? I apologize if you guys hear like a buzzing or like a mechanical sound in the background. Okay, it stopped. Hopefully it won't start up again. So I literally just started up again. Okay, I apologize. I'm just gonna keep going. I just finished up Eden a little while ago. It is like the afternoon right now, and I do have to say that overall I think that this is a really interesting book. I think I would rate it possibly a 3.75 out of 5 stars. It's definitely not perfect, and I don't think that I would consider this to be like an all-time favorite, but I really do like this subgenre of eco-horror or environmental horror, whatever you want to call it. This idea that we can be afraid of nature and like things that are considered to be natural and related to the environment. And I just think that there's a lot of like hidden messages within this subgenre, specifically about how humans have come to destroy and harm our planet, and how one day nature can just decide to fight back and destroy humans. And I think that this is literally what this book is about. As you know, there are these virgin zones that were created by governments across the world in like a near distant future. The environments have been ruined, planet Earth is dying, and so they decide to kind of take a step back and let nature run its course in these areas so that they can give back in some way to Earth. And unfortunately, humans do not learn their lesson, and people want to explore, people want to race through these regions and be the first ones to say like, I survived through Eden or this other zone, and get some kind of fame and notoriety associated with that challenge. And because of that, they're dealing with the repercussions of going into this natural environment that wasn't meant to host humans, and they end up dealing with a lot of violent and aggressive attacks by nature. I think it's such an interesting idea, and I know that throughout this vlog I was kind of comparing this book a lot to Annihilation, but for me that is like the true definition of like eco-horror. It's like the best representation that I have read so far, and so I feel like anytime I encounter something that is similar or has a similar vibe, I'm always going to put it up against Annihilation. That being said, Annihilation is still much better in my opinion. There's just a little bit more of a creepiness and an ominous vibe in Annihilation that we don't quite get as much in Eden. I feel like in Eden, there was less of a mystery aspect to the novel. Everything was kind of cut and dry, and I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like not a lot of things were explained. There were definitely some mysterious elements by the end of this book, which I appreciated, but there was just something a little bit extra in Annihilation that just captured my curiosity a little bit more. And I feel like there were some choices that the author made in terms of the plot, specifically this idea of these explorers coming in to race through Eden and to be like the first group of explorers to get through. I didn't really care for that plot aspect. I feel like this idea of competition and like contest and being the first person to do something doesn't really appeal to me, and like I can't understand that motivation as much as I would understand the motivation of like a group of scientists going to understand this region and take samples and learn things from it. I feel like that to me feels more like a legit motivation to go into this dangerous zone rather than just like thrill seeking, if that makes sense. But maybe that's just my own opinion. I'm sure there are probably people out there who do like agree and appreciate this type of motivation. So that was just like a nitpicky thing. I also feel like the pacing was not 100% great in this novel. It took about halfway through the book for something to actually happen to our group of explorers. Other than that, beforehand, the first half of the book was basically just them kind of traversing through the land, experiencing some creepy, ominous things, finding some pieces of evidence of like humans having been in Eden before, finding some dead bodies, things like that. But nothing actually happened directly to our explorers until the halfway point. And I feel like that's way too long into the narrative for like nothing serious to happen. And then I also feel like once the action and intense moments happened, it was just like non-stop. There was no like, I mean, I guess there were some like rest periods where they were not encountering like too much danger, but I just think even that second half when the action began, I wasn't crazy about the pacing of the novel. I don't know, I found myself at times like wanting to get to the next point or wanting to see what would happen next, but not in like an eager way, like a I want to get over this scene and like get to the next thing kind of way. So I don't know if that's just a personal thing, but for me the pacing was not the best in my opinion. I also, as I mentioned earlier on in this vlog, really was disappointed in the author's choice to include a character who was an ex-Israeli soldier. Not only was it completely unnecessary to the plot, and it just like didn't make sense for that character to even be part of this. I mean, his character, yes, but that aspect about his character, no connection to the plot whatsoever, in my opinion. Like, the book could have done without that. But like also just, I have no patience and no tolerance at this point in my life for people who just casually discuss and like reference Israel without condemning it, without criticizing it, and people who just blindly accept that country and the people who support that country. No tolerance for that. Like, I'm just being straight up honest. And it's not just because I'm Palestinian, but like, as a human being, like, really, we're going to support and accept the atrocities of this country? Like, no. If you are somebody who is anti-racist, anti-colonialism, anti-death, like, I don't even know what to say at this point. Like, if you're an ethical human being, I feel like you would be enraged at this aspect as well. Thankfully, it wasn't brought up too often, and it didn't go into detail about that character. Like, we didn't see too much of that, but I just feel like this author chose that of all things for this character, and it just like pissed me off, really. So that definitely affected my enjoyment of the novel, I'm not gonna lie. And I don't even know if I would ever pick up another book by this author because of that fact. But excluding that, I did enjoy the story overall. I think there were some really good descriptions in here, and again, this subgenre is probably one of my favorites. So I liked the book, but it wasn't perfect, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's why I would rate it 3.75. And I really want to read more books in the eco-horror subgenre. Like, this is proving to be one of my favorite subgenres of horror of all time, and I'm really excited to like do some research, find out other books that are similar and that, you know, delve into this genre. So please let me know down below if you guys have any recommendations of books, horror books that deal with nature and the environment. I do have like a good list of like 5 or 6 books that I have read that I think fit under this genre, so I might do like a video giving you guys recommendations about that. But yeah, that is it for this really long vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you enjoyed my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. Have you ever read an eco-horror or environmental horror type of novel? And again, recommendations. That's what I'm like really looking for. If you have any recommendations, please let me know down below. I will see you guys very soon in my next video, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful day today. Bye guys.